Hey, you brought up Ole Anderson's name a while ago. Ole was a rough, gruff, tough son of a bitch. And when I passed through WCW, I got along just great with him. I really enjoyed Ole. And of course, watching him in a tag match, I didn't get a chance to catch a whole lot of Gene and Ole, but I caught a whole lot of Ole and Arn, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. What was your relationship? What was your relationship like with Ole Anderson?
Well, Ole, not only was he a gruff son of a bitch and wrestling's original grumpy old man, but he was incredibly intelligent,
Right.
incredibly well-spoken. He was dedicated to the wrestling business, and he was very straight-laced with it. And as a matter of fact, my favorite Ole Anderson, one of the nicest things that anybody ever said to me, Ole said, Cornette, one time, he said, I used to think you were a dumb fuck, but so many other dumb fucks have come along that are worse than you, that you've moved up the ladder without doing anything. Ole and I got off on a rocky start because Dundee had done a deal in that Georgia territory in the summer of '83 where my rich mother had sent my poodle Fifi down because I'd never had, Fifi had never had a birthday without me being along, with her. And we had a birthday party for Fifi. And this videotape, I've got a shameless plug at jimcornette.com. If you go and you look up my rookie year video, this video is available. Like 7 people saw this fucking show, but I've preserved it. We had a birthday party with all my heels wearing the hats and blowing the noisemakers, and we had a cake. And of course, the fantastic ones, Bobby Fulton and Terry Taylor, came out and put my face in the cake. And Ole came from the real straight-laced, the Carolinas, where there wasn't a lot of comedy and there wasn't a lot of bullshit in wrestling, and they didn't do a lot of outrageous things. And he remembered the Nick Goulas days from Tennessee, where Nick was a notoriously bad payoff man, and they did a lot of hoo-ha. He didn't understand the Tennessee wrestling philosophy, and we're in Chattanooga after all, so it's Tennessee. So first time I met Ole, and I'm a young kid, but I was still a smart ass, and I said, Ole, it's nice to meet you. And I shook his hand, and he said, yeah, you had the birthday party for the dog on my television. I said, yeah, I saved you a piece of cake. He said, really? I said, yeah, it's in my ear. And so, Ole and I had a star-crossed relationship until finally he got a begrudging respect, I think, for me because he enjoyed zingers. He liked verbally jousting with people. And if you could stand up and trade with him verbally, he got a little bit of respect for you. So one time after the Great American Bash of '86, we're working for Crockett, and we're in the locker room in Huntington, West Virginia. And Ole, had gotten his check, and we'd all gotten our checks for the bash. And I think his check for the 14 bashes was like $17,500, and mine was like $22,000 because we were figured in a little bit,
right?
Stronger with the Midnight and the Rock and Roll and the Road Wars and etc. And he said, goddamn, it's a sorry state of affairs when I've spent all my life trying to uphold the honor of wrestling and working all my life and blah, blah, blah. And we'd worked against Baby Doll. That was the thing, 6 man's me against Baby Doll. And he says, a sorry state of affairs when a bitch and a fat manager make more money than I do. And I said, well, to be honest with you, Ole, I said, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you right here and right now for paving the way in the wrestling business so that I could come in and make more money than you did. Well, goddamn it.
The thing about Ole was he was one of the best cussers I've ever talked to. He just uses the same standard words that we all use, but for some reason, coming out of his mouth, it's pure platinum.
Well, it was like the father on the Christmas Story. He worked in profanity the way other people work in oils. And that's the thing is Ole, despite the profanity, he was, like I said, an incredibly intelligent guy. And
real smart.
He could make his point, but he punctuated the points in profanity to be alliterative, so that the guys would listen to it at the same time. He was making a very intelligent point, but he was making sure that they listened to it. And that was and plus one of the great promo men of all time, still to this day, the promo that he did on Atlanta TV on TBS after he turned on Dusty Rhodes in the cage in the Omni, which I was at that match, and there were literally fans trying to climb the cage to get into it, to get it at the Andersons. That was one of the great promos that I used to give the guys in Ohio Valley Wrestling tapes of, to say, if you want to draw money verbally in a wrestling business, this is how.
Right.
And so Ole and Gene, they were a no flash tag team, but they drew money in Georgia and the Carolinas for years. And people always say, well, why didn't the Anderson brothers go anywhere else if they were so good? And it was much the same as Lawler in Memphis, where they would have been stupid to go anywhere else. They were making so much money, and they were on top and drawing such big houses in the Carolinas and Virginia and Georgia that they didn't need to go anywhere else for years, years at a time.